Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, Director of Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about architecture in different countries and how each country has their own little thing that kind of makes them unique, right? So I'm from England, as you can probably tell, and at the moment I'm not in England, as you can also probably tell. Now, how are you able to tell both of these things? Well, one, accents, topic for another video, but two, architecture. Look at the brickwork of this thing up here, right? So I'm having a look, and you see the red sort of brick? That feels a little bit reminiscent of England, and you can see that France and England are right next to each other. They probably have quite a large shared culture and heritage and that kind of thing. I mean, they've both invaded one another so many times, and they have large impacts on one another. I mean, we say cafe and restaurant in England. They also say cafe and restaurant in France, right? We've borrowed one another's words, okay? And I am cool with that. But look at this. Look at this stuff here. I never see anything like that in England. This kind of rockage here, which has clearly been cut quite, like it's clearly been smashed by another rock, and they've split these rocks and then done it up like this. You know when you go to the countryside in England and they've got those kind of, not brick walls, but kind of made out of stones, like those quite flat stones. And they are extremely sturdy. They stay up for centuries, and they are not put together, they're not glued together, there's no cement going into that process. It's just the nature of how they stack them that makes them really tight. The same way that you can tie a knot, and there's certain knots that are tighter than others. It's the way that they build the bricks. So say you want to build a brick wall, right? And you want to build it like that. It's actually more efficient to kind of do it that way. You'll use less bricks doing that, because if you just build it straight like that with one layer of brick, the wind will blow it over, right? Because it's all the wind is going and hitting it dead on like that. If you have it kind of back and forth, the wind slides off like you're skateboarding, and it goes that way, okay? And so you see a fair few brick walls kind of like that, but then, you know, if you've got posher people, they have like straight brick walls to show that they can waste their walls, right? But then in England, they don't do any of that, because they have that kind of country sort of farmhouse kind of wall. So I'm just sort of talking about architecture in general and how this has a lot of similarities to British architecture, but it's not British, right? And the same way that there's a lot of French reminiscence within English architecture. We have a shared heritage and we have a shared culture. And you know this whole thing of like France and England hate each other, all that bullshit. If you're not from either of these countries, you might think that we're like at each other's throats all the time. We don't give a shit. This is such a non-issue. All this happened in the 1300s, so we're not worried about it. It's the same way that, like, I don't know, the Americans and the Canadians, I imagine they've probably got a similar thing where they don't like each other. I know they have the odd little joke. You know, Americans take a pot shot at Canadians, and Canadians do the same in reverse. And they should, because that's the little fun of life. We all like to make fun of one another for the little things that we do and our own little intricacies and that kind of thing. You know, and I feel like maybe part of that is to make you aware of who you are and where you come from and what you're all about and that kind of thing. And it's just kind of neat, really. I like, okay, it just came to a screeching halt, that car, but it's turning. It seems to be, yeah, it's going that other way. So yeah, each country has their own little idiosyncrasies, shall we say. And each country has different parts of their architecture that make them interesting, that make them worth visiting. That's why tourism exists, because you want to go see something that looks a bit different from what you're used to. Because if you just sat around in your local town your entire life, you know, you see people that do that, and they're not very interesting because they haven't gone anywhere, they haven't done anything, they haven't, like, you know, if America comes up in a conversation and never been to America, you don't have anything to add to the conversation. I'd like to go to America just so that if America came up in a conversation, I could go, oh yeah, it's great there, or oh no, I hated it. I don't know whether I'd like it or not, but I'd go there and I would find out. And then in future conversations, it would be useful for when I want to bring up America, or if America comes up in a conversation. So like Bulgaria's come up in the conversation a few times. I've been to Bulgaria, so I have a little thing to say. I can talk about the story of the disabled woman that sat on a corner that asked me for my bracelet, and I said to her, no, sentimental value. I'll just tell the story. So I was going to the beach, right? And on the way to the beach, this woman stopped me and asked me for my watch, for my bracelet. And I said, no, sentimental value. You know how you kind of end up replicating their accent wherever you go because you want to try and fit in? So I was saying it in a really bad attempted Bulgarian accent. I tried to learn a bit of Bulgarian, but Honestly, I went into a tobacco shop and I was like, I've forgotten it all. And the guy looked at me like this. Do you want 10 amber leaf, mate? He said mate, and oh, my heart sunk, and it was just like, I've learned all this for nothing. I'm trying my best here, right? I'm trying to ingratiate into the culture, and you're not making it any easier for me. So, you know, Bulgaria is a really nice place. But anyway, back to this woman. I went down there, went down to see the beach, and on the way there, this woman asked me for the watch. She wanted to buy the watch off me. It's weird because she looked homeless. Like, at first I thought she was asking me for money, and then it turned out she was trying to give me money. So I was like, no. So I went down to the beach, and then I came back up. She was in the exact same spot. And then 2 days later, I go back to the beach, and she's in the exact same spot. And I thought, I am not dealing with her. So I found a different route down. And then I got home, right? And I went on Google Maps, and I went to and put the Street View pin on that exact corner. And lo and behold, she was there. I was there in January of 2020. This Google Street View thing was taken in like September of 2018. She was in the exact same spot, wearing the exact same clothes, facing the exact same direction. And I just thought, does she move? Where does she go? Does she stay there all night? I presume she has somewhere to go, even if she is homeless. I presume she doesn't literally stay there. She probably finds an underpass or something if she's homeless, or maybe like there's a homeless shelter there or whatever, you know? And it was just a bit strange. And that's why people go traveling. That's why people go to places, so that you can have like that kind of interrupt your video. That's why you go to different places, because you want to see different cultures and different ways of life. You want to try scallops and go, oh, these are disgusting. And the next time, you know not to have them. And you know not to bother with that kind of thing again. You know that if you have a scallops, you're not going to get them back in England, right? So you're trying something new. So your taste buds kind of like take a vacation with you. And they're kind of like, look, I know I normally like the things I normally like, but don't worry, I'll eat this. And you'll eat it, and you'll kind of go, oh. And you'll know if you like it based on if you just sort of don't chew it and you just try and swallow it. And yeah, if you can just sort of get it down you, then that's you've become part of the culture essentially, and you've eaten that thing. And now when that comes up in another conversation down the pub, you've got that to bring up. You've got, right, I had a scallops. Oh, did you now? They were terrible. Oh yeah, I had them when I went to wherever they do a scallops. Yeah, I didn't. I thought they were all right, but yeah, and yeah, it's the shell, isn't it? I just find it's a bit gross. You know, I don't know, it just wasn't really for me. And there's a little conversation that can come out of that. There's a little thing that can happen from that. And that's why people go traveling. And wrapping it back round to the architecture, people go traveling. They take inspiration from a place, and they come back and they want to take the inspiration that they got and put it to use, right? So say this church behind me, right? Say this style of architecture is French, right? An Englishman comes over to France, sees this, they go, ooh, that looks nice. I'm building a church. I'll jot a bit of that in. You know, even if it's subconscious, they've taken a little bit of inspiration. They've gotten something out of it. They've just gotten that little thing, right? And as long as you get that little thing, you're all right. And that's why, you know, the world manages to turn around, because we're all taking inspiration from one another. That's why cultures are able to form, because all cultures come from the inspiration of seeing other people going, oh, they do things like this. Let's try. I don't like the way they do that exactly, but I like the general idea, so I'm going to put that to use in the way that I feel like it could be improved. And then someone else might come and visit this load of people, and they'll go, oh yeah, that's a good idea. I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it to use in this other spot, and so on and so forth. And that will just continue ad nauseum, and you know, new cultures will come and old cultures will fall. The Mesopotamians aren't around anymore, but the Iraqis are, and from then maybe the Iraqis will disappear, and maybe some new thing will come around. I mean, the Americans are quite new. Maybe at some point they'll become the old thing, the way that the English and the Chinese are quite old, and then they'll become the old thing, and then new types of American-like style, new countries will come around, and they'll be the new thing, and America will be the old thing, and the whole system will just continue to evolve as the years go by, as the decades turn into centuries, turn into millennia. And that's what I think where the beauty of architecture comes in, is that we are just taking inspiration from people. And I feel like modern architecture, there's a bit of a problem where maybe we've gone too far, and we've just like all agreed like this is the way to do it. And obviously there are logistical reasons that skyscrapers and modern buildings are done the way they are for cost reasons and that kind of thing. But you know, I do look at the Burj Khalifa and I think it's all right. I look at Taipei 101, I think that's really nice. I look at the Empire State Building, I think that's good. It's not as good as Taipei 101, but Taipei 101 is using a modern architecture and the Empire State Building is using an older style of architecture. So is it necessarily the case that all modern architecture is bad? No. But can old architecture be uninspired? Yes. Can new architecture be uninspired? Yes. And where the best architecture comes from is inspiration. And going to another place and seeing how the people do it and going, oh, that's a good idea. We need to try that. Let's try that over here. That's why I feel like America does quite well, because they are essentially an amalgamation of loads of different peoples that kind of got together and they all had their own cultures that they come from. And the Italians come over and they reinvent the pizza over in America. And you know what? Sorry to all you Italians that are watching this, but I think the Americans improved it, right? So, you know, and you know what? At some point, all the American Italians will move somewhere else, right? In a new generational immigration, right? And they'll go somewhere else and they'll think, okay, well, our American forefathers that came from Italy, they had some good things going with their pizza, but I feel like we could improve it a little bit. So they make a new form of pizza that maybe makes the American one look like crap. And then that cycle will just continue and continue and continue. And so inspiration is just continual and is probably the foundational building block of civilization, you know? Every single dictator, leader, common man has been inspired by the things that are around them and put it into practice for their own benefit. And that's a good thing. And you know, it works in terms of creativity as well. You know, you see a film you like, I want to take little bits from that, but I don't want to take that bit, but I want to take this little bit and then combine it with this little bit from this other film that I saw and see what happens if I combine those two in this other type of story, this other narrative structure. So you've got all these different ways of being inspired by things. So just go out there, go out into the world, leave your house, leave your city, leave your country, just for whatever reason, you know, and just see what you can get. You know what? It's not that expensive to go abroad. I've done the calculations actually. So far, I have spent, I need to add 30 euros to this, but honestly, £80 plus 30 euros, so call it £100, right? That's £100, and I'm probably going to spend another £100. That's £200 for like a 2-week long holiday, where I'm also going to be able to get cheaper tobacco, hence saving me money in England, right? Because it's like £40 a pack. I can get it here for like, well, on the ferry, I can get 5 packs for 40 quid. So obviously I'm going to do that and save myself a load of money. And that way, in my mind, it offsets the cost. That's why I went to Bulgaria. I went to Bulgaria to get tobacco, and I treat it as a free holiday, essentially. Back then, the tobacco allowance was a lot higher, and you were allowed to bring back a kilogram. Now you're only allowed to bring back 250 grams. Please reverse that. That's not a consequence of Brexit. The British people did that to themselves, okay? It's not Brexit. It's not the EU telling us we can't bring more than 250 grams back. It's us, the British, that have decided that. So can we reverse that, please? Because the party that put that in is meant to be all about lower taxes and stuff. Anyway, enough of that. Enough of inspiration. So go out and be inspired by the world. If you can't afford to go abroad, I do totally understand. But try and get out of your comfort zone. Walk in a different direction than you usually do. Go to a pub you don't normally go to. Try some foods that you don't normally have. Even if you have a shit experience with it, you can go, oh, I had a shit experience with that, I'm not going to have it again. Right? And you know, if you're going to do some cooking in the future, you're not going to cook it like that. Even if you learn a negative lesson of what not to do, you've still learnt a lesson. So I think that's going to be the video. And just looping it back around to the architecture of this church, right? So the French and the English came together, and there's one that looks like this, and there'll be another church in England that looks fairly similar to this, but in kind of the reverse, where there's a little bit of French influence, and this has a little bit of English influence. I feel like I've not said very much in this video that's of any worth, but I hope I have. I don't know, some parts of it felt logical, some parts of it didn't. We'll give it a try, we'll see what happens. Thank you very much for watching. Love you all, you're all brilliant. That's not becoming the new outro, I've said that twice now. So we're not going to make that an outro. We don't have outros on this channel. We have an intro and that's it. And hey, there's a thing there. The way I'll finish this video, I'll show you this building that's over here because it looks very not English. Ooh. So there you are. That doesn't look like it's England, does it? Actually, it kind of does. I take that back. Actually, that kind of helps my point. Sweet. Thank you very. Thank you. Oh, hang on. I need to be the right way up. I feel like a vlogger now. Yo, thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Smash the like button. People do all that bullshit. That wasn't. Don't smash the like button. Tap it politely if you like the video, but don't if you don't. Just you've got free will, all right? Use it.